So, yeah.
Good evening. I would like to call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the roll call, and then if everyone could join in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hathaway,
Present.
Palmer, absent. Flintoff, present. Brazeau, absent. Carey, present. Noel, present. Riser,
Present.
also present our township manager and township attorney.
All right, please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So begin with adoption of the agenda. And
Could you speak a little louder?
oh, I'm sorry. We'll begin with adoption of the agenda. I know Trustee Riser, you had a suggestion that you would like to make.
Yes, I would move that the appointment of Daryl Burkhart to the LPC be moved up to the consent agenda, and that she could be heard under introductions and recognition, which precedes that.
I would agree with that.
I have two others to propose. I would move the Eagle Community Energy Management Grant up to consent, as well as the approval of the engineering proposal for the township HVAC upgrades, both to consent, for support for that.
Yeah, I agree.
So L4, L5, and L6 will be moved to the consent agenda. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
I just had a proposed addition. I handed out a proposed resolution to discuss to decide on the placement of the fire services ballot question before August 6th, which would schedule when we make that decision, not making it tonight, but to schedule when.
Okay, so that would be under new business. That would become, I guess, L7.
Sure.
Anything else?
What about the one item related to
Oh,
HR?
we were going to remove an item. That's right. I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. So
H5?
yes, H5 is coming, is to come off the agenda. It's not quite ready yet.
Okay.
Strike H5?
Yes, yes, it's an incredible shrinking meeting.
Mostly.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? All right, then, is someone prepared to move the agenda as amended? Moved by Noel, support by Riser. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The agenda is adopted. That brings us to introductions and recognition, and we do have someone to be introduced this evening. That's Ms. Daryl Burkhart. Come forward, please, have a seat. Ms. Burkhart is nominated this evening to be appointed to the Land Preservation Commission, but this is an opportunity for you to introduce yourself and respond to any questions the board may have.
Okay. Well, good evening. And my name is Daryl Burkhart, and as you know, I have applied to be a member of the Land Preservation Committee. While I did not grow up in Michigan, I have a strong interest in preserving her natural areas and agricultural lands, partially because of my professional background. I'm a conservation biologist and a CPA, but also because of family roots, because I have grandparents and great-grandparents who were farmers in Michigan, and I have very fond memories of going to the family farm as a young girl. And sadly, that farm no longer exists, and hence my strong interest in protecting and preserving Michigan's beautiful landscape. In order to give you some background on my credentials that I would bring to the table, I have worked 11 years as a conservation biologist in the state of Colorado in the land protection field. And in that capacity, I have had various responsibilities, including evaluating real estate analysis, analyzing real estate deals, which is where the CPA comes in very handy. Evaluating properties for protection, writing park and preserve management plans, developing baseline inventories for conservation easements, and grant writing, among others. With this background, it's my hope, with your permission, to be able to make a positive contribution to the Land Preservation Committee.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from members of the board?
I'm just very impressed.
Great resume, great
Thank
act.
you.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have you.
And I'm very excited to be involved.
So Thursday at 4 o'clock, right? It's on your schedule, I hope.
It's on my schedule. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to communications to the Board of Trustees. And there's information in the, or materials in the meeting packet. Are there any comments on the communications? All right, then that brings us to public comment. And this is a time for members of the public to speak for up to 3 minutes on any matter under the purview of the Board of Trustees. And I would ask Trustee Reiser if you will be our timekeeper. And before we begin, I just want to make a brief comment. At our previous meeting, I think we had a lot of public comment. I don't know if we will again this evening. But I want to encourage everyone to honor and respect the 3-minute time limit. That's not just a rule, it's a matter of respect for everybody. And also, when it's not public comment or it's not your turn during public comment, to please refrain from sort of jumping in. We had an unfortunate incident where people started speaking out during the meeting, our prior meeting, and it turned into people talking to each other, and it became somewhat bitter. So please direct your comments during public comment to the board and not to other members of the audience. And please do stick to speaking only during public comment. If you want to talk to each other, you're welcome to do so. Just please step outside and make sure that the door is closed so that it's not disturbing the meeting. With that, if there are people present who would like to participate in public comment, please come forward and speak your speech.
Dave Spicer, 525 Baker Road. I came back from my place up north and went to put my trash in my trash. Well, that was empty, but the recycle was full. Went to put some more recycles in it. Well, I couldn't get any more recycles in it because it was already full. So I put them in my barn. And I looked at the news, whatever, noticed that seems like that saying that we have priorities not doing too good down the suburbs of Detroit either. So my question is how do I get a refund on my week that I paid for recycles that wasn't picked up? So if that can be answered at the end of the program, the meeting, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public comment?
Good evening, Renee Klubeck. In regards to the new priority waste contract, I sent an email to the township on 6/28. Trash pickup by priority waste did not happen on the assigned day, as they said in their contract. I appreciated hearing back from Clerk Flintoff, Trustee Carey, Trustee Knoll, and Trustee Reiser, making sure of what had happened and details to that. I did not hear back from the supervisor, or I'm not sure if the township manager would have gotten even the message. I want to let you know that on July 4th, the second week of priority handling things, July 4th is a holiday. It is our assigned day. They did not pick up. We knew they would be coming the next day. The next day they picked up recycle. They did not pick up trash. They came the day after that to pick up trash. I understand 1 time is a glitch, 2 times is routine, and perhaps we need someone to contact the company, as the other gentleman said, so that we can get a hold on this before it gets out of hand. It's not healthy with animals to have trash out for 3 days. Some people don't realize the change of the holiday day, but I would appreciate it if someone could, again, consider contacting the company, since we did go ahead and contract the contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Pattinson, Scio Township resident. Supervisor Hathaway, after last week's meeting, you approached me and said that you had no part in forwarding emails to Joe Grammatico. That's fine, I accept that. Now please explain what all the copies were for. Did you mean you didn't forward an electronic email, but did indeed forward a paper copy? Please explain. In tonight's agenda packet, there's a letter from John Boyle to the board. He believes it would be, quote, wise and prudent, unquote, for this board to avoid hiring anyone or proposing any new millages until the next board is in place. Now we know why Supervisor Hathaway removed the fire SAD from tonight's agenda, because John Boyle told him to. This is the same man that spent $10,000 last year to sabotage the last fire SAD with several mailings full of falsehoods designed to scare residents into voting against it. That same man has been silent in public this year as he runs for supervisor. This board has been waiting for months for Trustee Brazeau to bring forward the new proposal to improve emergency services for the township. He waited until we were down to the last two meetings before the deadline for getting anything on the November ballot. Now here we are tonight, 3 weeks from the deadline, and where is Trustee Brazeau? Where is the spectacular executive summary he wrote for the proposal? Where is the agenda item? Once again, dirty tricks and corruption is plain for all to see as politicians manipulate how residents of Scio will choose to vote. Candidate Boyle has successfully manipulated our supervisor into preventing this board from hearing the details of what Chief Hood and others have so diligently prepared. Why? Because he expects to get elected, and when he does, he will tank any proposal from the fire department and say that there isn't enough financial analysis to support it. This is from the man who claims 10,000 plus managerial reports and decades of financial analysis experience. This from the man who has twice failed to raise a finger to use his vast experience to help design the last year's proposal or this year's. This from the man the Fix Scio group supports, and again has sent 2 mailings so far this year filled with lies designed to scare residents into voting the way Jack Knowles, Jim Dries, and John Boyle want them to. I ask all candidates to make it clear to voters where they stand on improving emergency services in Scio Township. It's not a question of having the courage to make a statement. It's the basic common decency to be honest with the people you are asking to vote for you so they can make honest decisions. And honesty is something this township needs a lot more of from its representatives. Tonight's manipulation stinks of corruption. Thank you.
Is there any way to turn the volume up?
No, I can try.
Thank you.
There is hearing aids over here on this table. I'm wearing one, if anyone would
Yeah,
like one.
well, it's a continual problem here.
Yeah, let's move on with public comment. Who would like to speak next?
Judy Monk, Scio resident. My compliments to all of the local and state elected officials and residents who were instrumental in Scio Township receiving an earmark for our fire department in the state budget. It was quite significant, and we should be all appreciative of the work. I'm sure this was a group effort, so thanks to the many people who made it happen. Second, I appreciate Kathy Knoll for representing Scio in the ongoing efforts to address Gelman contamination and cleanup. This is a really serious issue for all of us and a long-term slog. Thanks to Kathy for the update in the recent water newsletter. So I appreciate that. Third, I just wanted to say thanks to Ms. Burkhardt for coming forward and volunteering. This was going to be comments that she was going to be appointed later, but I looked at the packet as everyone else did. She has impressive qualifications, and Scio is fortunate to have someone with her experience and interest willing to get involved. Also, I want to thank Marty Mayo, who has stepped off the LPC after serving for 8 years. So for those that did not know, the opening that Ms. Burkhardt took was Marty Mayo was on, and she served for several years. So compliments to her and thanks. And lastly, just to comment, staff and volunteers are a reason for us to be proud of Scio. So let's all come together and be proud of Scio. Thanks.
Thank you, Judy.
Who's next?
I forgot the time, people.
Well, everyone's speaking
I know.
in a very punctual way. It looks like Pat's coming up.
They're all pretty short.
What a time myself, but I'm connected to too many things at the moment. All righty. That's fine. Oh, I thought I turned it off. Sorry. Can you start again with the timer?
I haven't started it yet.
Excellent. That's fine. Longtime resident of Scio Township. I just want to extend a few thank yous tonight. I would first like to thank Ryan Yapel for the important part he played in Scio Township being the recipient of the state of Michigan's grant of $750,000 that will be put toward a new fire truck. Outstanding work, Ryan. I very much look forward to more of your good works as Scio's next treasurer. I would also like to thank Clerk Flintoff for her closing comments at the June 11th meeting, cautioning board members not to feed into rumors and conspiracies, especially in public gatherings where they are representatives of the township. Thank you for your efforts in making such suggestions. We know they were not well received by the supervisor, whose response was that of an angry toddler's tantrum, but I do thank you for your best of intentions. Thank you also for your actions at the special meeting held on the N1D forensic findings, where you made a motion to allow Ian Huber a full 5 minutes to present his own knowledge as to what actually happened regarding Sheriffgate. A motion that passed in spite of Supervisor Hathaway's opposition to allow the extra 2 minutes. Thank you, Jessica. I also want to thank Ian Huber for coming forward at both the special meeting on the N1D report and again at the last spot where he introduced himself as the guy who wasn't charged. Ian was very straightforward in his account as to what actually happened to Trustee Carey as she was setting up the public computer for a Zoom meeting. As everyone should know, Ian's firsthand account of Trustee Carey's actions that evening clears her of any wrongdoing and did not warrant charges of committing any felonies. The only crime that was committed was when Supervisor Hathaway filed a false police report against Trustee Carey. Supervisor Hathaway has been benefiting from his false police report and the resulting charges. Yes, that false information is being used by Ms. Carey's political opponent in her candidacy to be Scio's next supervisor. Vile Hathaway, absolutely vile. My last thank you goes to former supervisor and Supervisor Hathaway's current handler, Jack Knowles. Thank you, Jack, for holding a recent meet and greet for your slate of candidates at Prudix Valley. Choosing the party barn as the location for your political event says volumes about how you feel about the Scio residents whose lives have been so negatively impacted by all the event noises that have been disrupting their lives for over 13 years. The fact that you have chosen to repeat your role as the handler for the members of the newest slate is a big tell to the Scio voters. It tells us that we should expect more of the same self-serving, vindictive governing style if we vote for your latest slate of candidates. Thank you for that revelation, Jack. Thank you, Jack. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Who's next to speak during public comment?
Good evening, everyone. Ryan Yapel, 1007 East Summerfield Glen Circle. Couple of things this evening. I really want to thank the entire board for helping secure the grant from our state representative Felicia Brayback and the state government for the fire truck. While I certainly did have some phone calls with her and I emailed her and advocated for the fire department as I have for the last several years, it took everybody's effort to get this done. I don't deserve all the credit. The next thing I wanted to say, and really I'm sad that Trustee Brazell wasn't here this evening, is I was reading through the correspondences as I do for all of these meetings. And one of the correspondences that I read is from one of our fire lieutenants, Glenn Cobb. He says, I understand the complexities involved in deciding whether to place such proposals on the ballot, but I strongly believe that ensuring sufficient funding for our fire department is essential for maintaining public safety and providing professional emergency response services. Our fire department is crucial, just as picking up the garbage is crucial. If we have garbage cans that are sitting out for days on end, we're gonna have blight and we're gonna have problems and we're not gonna be the township everybody wants. So please, as a group, decide tonight when you would like to discuss this. Time really is of the essence as this deadline is coming up to place this on the November ballot, but I urge you, even next Tuesday evening, for example, if 7 p.m. works, so there's a time so the public can come here. It's only fair to all of the taxpayers that are going to have to pay for this to know what they're going to get and what they're going to have to pay for. That way they can be fairly informed and not have to wait till the last minute. Thank you, Al.
Thank you, Ryan.
So let me say something. I was supposed to say something. Mark Brazo isn't here tonight because he was driving back to Michigan from Indiana to attend the meeting, and he was involved in a automobile collision that resulted in his truck being totaled. So Mark's at home convalescing, nursing wounds from seatbelt and airbag, and so he was going to try to log in via Zoom to watch, but that's where Mark is tonight. And I know he's communicated that to some others, so.
Next for public comment.
Good evening. From Low Density Parkwood, representing Low Density Parkwood. I sent an email into the township yesterday morning, so it should be in your packet, and I'll just kind of read from that. Scio Trustees, the Low Density Parkwood Group has largely been silent since October, when last we made a Board of Trustees appeal. Please recall and consider the following. There is a large pipe proposal to bring every drop of Arbors Grove stormwater across Parkwood property. 2, there is a clause in the Parkwood bylaws that mandates a 67% approval vote by co-owners for the granting of such an easement. A vote has never been taken. In the case of such a vote, the clause references an inherent need for the project to have a public purpose. Arbors Grove is a for-profit private project. There is no overt public purpose. Item 4, as a matter of historical precedence, our prior Parkwood HOAs have held our bylaws sacrosanct. We have not altered nor knowingly deviated from them. Our bylaws protect us and have served us well. Over the last 28 months, all negotiation has taken place behind closed doors. That would be the Scio planning team, the developer, and the Parkwood HOA. And that negotiation continues to this day, absent the voice of our group. Over those many months, our HOA has internally broadcast to residents that they are not in favor of this project. Over those 28 months, when attending BOT meetings, our low density group has kind of looked over our shoulder, waiting for that not in favor posture to publicly manifest itself. We would very much welcome our HOA's public support, along with the Parkwood unity that would bring. Our message is simple. Ours is not a classic NIMBY request. The currently proposed 35 units on 4 acres is excessive and not in the spirit of the Scio master plan. We ask only for a reasonable, neighborly density. We appeal to every trustee in good conscience and for the good of the entire Scio community. Please do not vote on SP 21021 until the democratic voice of every Parkwood co-owner has been heard, as mandated by our bylaws. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alan.
Next for public comment.
David Reed, Scio Township, candidate for trustees, Scio Township. I just have a quick comment. This is tonight's packet. 200 and some odd pages. What's unique about this? Printed on one side. Instead of being only 120 pages, it's 240 pages. Why not printing it on both sides? Save some paper, save a tree. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Good evening, I'm Kathleen Brandt. I'm running for trustee. We had a rough campaign today. We were out putting up campaign banners in the pouring rain. And speaking of campaigning, I noticed that I got star placement on the Scio webpage. They actually put a nice picture of me. I'm smiling. I look very trustworthy, so I appreciate that. On the other hand, there are some lies out there. I just would pull it up. So one of the things that is not true is that I unsuccessfully sued the township. Let's give some background on this. The supervisor doubled his salary. And prior to that, the board had created a compensation commission. I applied to be on that commission. I read the statute. I knew what the action was not appropriate. So I took action. I sued the township. And I very successfully sued the township because Mr. Homier, Mr. Hathaway's attorney, advised him to voluntarily reduce his salary because they did not have a winning position. He also advised him to appoint me to be on the commission. That was a win. And so as a result of reducing the salary, if you look at the impact over the term of his office, I personally saved the township $95,000. That's a very successful lawsuit. There's something else in here that's not quite right. I mentioned I was appointed to the Compensation Commission, and it said I voted to increase the trustee salary by 33% just before announcing my candidacy. That's hogwash. That meeting was in June of 2023. I announced candidacy in April of 2024, 10 months later. Another interesting thing about that is the head of Scio, who filed the statement of organization, is Jim Dries. He also voted yes for that salary increase. So I must have done something right. He thought it was right. So anyway, that's the way it goes. I have great faith in the voters of Scio Township that they can look at the rest of this things and decide what's true and what's not true. There are falsehoods here. They're smarter than that. Thanks for your time.
Kathleen.
Please come up.
Yes, I'm getting up, sir. Paula Gloverson,
Let me write a check.
Scio resident, long time. Anyway, a couple things want to clarify. As far as development, I said I wasn't against development, but when it causes problems with infrastructure, such as roads, drainage, sewer, water, somebody needs to pay up and not the residents. Can't overbuild for your infrastructure. And then I have multiple notes, but starting, I clarified that. Kathleen Brandt went over why Mr. Supervisor Hathaway was recalled. I also want to state something Mr. Burbano said about HOAs. HOAs, which we're seeing more of them, do not take when an HOA writes a letter saying the neighborhood supports something. Some of these HOAs don't even want people to come to their meetings, period, or know any information. And then I want to bring up, this wasn't my original idea. There were other people here who stated it. U of M policy. When Mr. Hathaway distributed a private email that was supposed to be for the organization, it should have stayed in the organization. U of M, you would get fired, or at least highly sanctioned. Also, U of M policy is, this is very important because there's been problems with it at the University of Michigan. When you have some type of relationship, stock, business, you must recuse yourself or declare what your association with those groups are. That is not done on committees or the Board of Trustees for years here, and I find it very troublesome. And the township, I think, is setting themselves up for liability. Also, they can seize your private phones, also your emails at University of Michigan. In fact, many people didn't want to have that ability if the university decided there was some issue that they needed to seize your private equipment. But too, you have your own personal cell phone, your own personal iPad, your own personal whatever. So you didn't have university business on a computer that was used for personal. Very important. Also, the organizational charts need to be redone here so that people actually have a process. Clerk Flintoff has continually talked about process. I also want to bring up the fact that this was 2.5 years ago, or maybe 2, where meetings of a minutes were not okayed. And now that we have Mark Brousseau's company, I think those minutes, and they could be reviewed by our person that reviews them. They need to be, especially public comment, word for word almost, so that it is clear what a person said. Too much has gone on about that. And Mr. Hathaway, I'll finish my stuff later, continually blocked those in his group.
Thank you. Who's next for public comment?
Hi, it's me again, Ian Hubert, resident of Scio Township, the guy who wasn't charged. The Brit who can still stand in the mirror and brush my teeth and go to bed at night with a good, clear conscience that I've done nothing wrong. I think some of you on this board can't do that. And I feel really sorry for you. Public computer is still over there. I think you had some trouble starting the meeting this evening, if I was kind of perceiving it correctly. The stress to get a meeting running and then to have somebody accuse you of hacking into somebody's email account, as is extolled by this blatant set of lies in Fix Scio 2024. Please read this and be disgusted as I am at what I'm reading. I think it's absolutely shameful that this board is not talking about this. It's disgusting. You should be ashamed, really ashamed. I'm a volunteer on the Road Advisory Commission. I come here to set up this computer, okay, to get the meeting started. How do I know? How does anybody know who serves on any advisory committee for Scio Township that they're not going to get charged with doing something? Why would I want to come here tomorrow evening, volunteer my time away from my family to start a meeting on that computer and run the risk of going through what Gillian Carey is going through? You guys need to do something about this. At least put it on your agenda and talk about it. How you're going to defend us, people who are working for this community on that computer. What are you going to do? Stop ignoring the question, okay? It's not cool. I received another one of these in post, and I think my wife squirreled it away from me so that I didn't lose more hair. Seriously, thank you.
Pam Boyd, a Scio resident, Scio community newsletter, Scio government watchdog. Let me start by quoting U.S. Supreme Court Cohen versus California, 1971. Justice Frankfurter said, and I quote, "One of the prerogatives of American citizenship is the right to criticize public men and measures, and that means not only informed and responsible criticism, but the freedom to speak foolishly without moderation. Trustees Brazeau and Reiser, I see that you are part of the Fix Scio slate. As trustees who have been on this board for the last 2 years, why haven't you fixed Scio? The problems after November will be much easier to fix when the current supervisor is out of office. So again, why haven't you fixed Scio? I'm surprised Fix Scio has allowed you on their slate because you've proved that you are a failure at fixing Scio's most polarizing problem. That problem has been the supervisor's decision-making skills and scant understanding of how to run a general law township. His decisions have cost the township thousands of dollars, and unfortunately, 75% of township employees have quit or retired during his time in office. The supervisor has a history of calling the sheriff on residents who speak negative public comments at board meetings and has attempted to change public comments in meeting minutes to make himself look better. All of those targeted were women. He, along with Jim Murdy, removed the clerk's statutory duties, again, a woman, filed charges against a fellow trustee, a woman, given passes to public comments on men, but shutting down public comments on women, and the list goes on. Why haven't you stood up and voiced your dissent on his treatment of women? Why haven't you stood up and criticized his decisions that have harmed others? Why haven't you spoken up and publicly disavowed his actions? Why haven't you at the very least stated publicly that you are against his reckless decisions that have cost this township unnecessary money? Instead, Brazeau, you started acting like a Hathaway mini-me, and Trustee Reiser, have you shared with the public regarding Sheriffgate that your wife works for the Ann Arbor Public Prosecutor's Office? You two have been impotent with your time on this board to fix Scio. I believe you two have become tainted by your inability to stand up and speak up against the supervisor who acts more like a king than a fiscally responsible township supervisor. I'll call you the three musketeers of wasteful spending, chasing the supervisor's apparent need to attack women on this board and women residents who speak words against him. Thank you.
Any others who would like to speak during public comment?
Okay. Good evening. My name is Monica Knowles, and I've been a resident of Scio Township for 36 years. And I'm here tonight to address concerns about campaign donations to our elected officials. I saw that Jillian Carey has a GoFundMe page for her legal fees. This surprised me because according to an email that I received, that my husband received from Steve Gillis, that he had was covering your legal bills. And so I was surprising if he was covering your legal bills, then why you had a need for GoFundMe. Additionally, according to the GoFundMe page, Ms. Carey has received anonymous donations, including a substantial donation of $10,000. This raises concerns about the source and intent of these contributions. Any elected official receiving anonymous donations naturally leads to questions about potential paybacks or votes influenced by such donations, particularly ones that are 5 figures. Jillian, without any proof, you said that GFL paid off my husband. I believe I'm asking the same question you would ask if he had received a $10,000 anonymous donation. However, this situation isn't just about you. It's about transparency and trust in our elected officials. Someone has put you in a precarious situation, but you get to decide how you want to manage it. Or maybe more accurate to ask is, are you going to honor the donors who believe that it's in their best interest to be silent? Or are you going to honor what's in the best interest of Scio Township? Without transparency, the intent behind every vote you cast is questionable. It is also concerning that no one else is questioning the anonymous donations. How do we know the money donated to the GoFundMe won't be used for undocumented campaign expenses? We have campaign finance rules for reasons. Working around the rules and ignoring the issues is not in the best interest of Scio Township. For the record, I am submitting these written comments and supporting email from Mr. Gillis to the board to be part of the official minutes. I hope there'll be a resolution to this issue. And thank you.
Is there anyone else present in the hall who would like to speak during public comment? Seeing none, let's turn to those who are participating remotely.
All right, first up on Zoom, please raise your hand if you'd like to speak on Zoom. First up is Jonathan Greenberg. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Hey, so first of all, Monica, let me correct you. I'm the one who said your husband was paid off by GFL, not Jillian. You're kind of disingenuous that way. Just like you make comments about other trustees saying they're sleeping around with people. You shouldn't say that when I'm sitting right behind you.
Jonathan, please direct your comments to the board and not to people.
Will, please don't interrupt me.
No, follow the rules.
No one is giving anonymous donations. People have the ability to be anonymous on the website if they don't want their name to be posted. Monica, you're just so lame and your lies and stuff are just out of control. Knock it off. My name is Jonathan Greenberg, and I'm running as a write-in candidate for Scio Township Treasurer. Please vote for me and not Ryan. Mark Brazeau, I'd wish you a quick recovery from your injuries, but I only have 3 minutes, and Monica made me waste a bunch of time. I also wanted to add that on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we had trash pickups in Trailwoods all 3 days. Lots of noise, lots of banging. I thought the whole idea was that we would only have 1 day of pickups, not all 3 days of the weekend. All right, now that it's clear, now that we've seen the documentation that Will Hathaway and had amazingly poor police forensic work led to false charges being filed by the Washoe County prosecutor against a candidate running for supervisor, Trustee Carey, time to coincide with our voting. I would like to ask each one of you, where do you stand on Will and filing this disgusting complaint against Trustee Carey to cover his own stupid mistake, mainly leaving himself logged into his own email account on the most public computer in Township Hall? And what will you do to ensure this kind of conduct doesn't occur in Scio Township in the future? Ian couldn't have said it better. Disgusting. Vile. But before you answer that, understand this hypocrisy. Will ran to the sheriff and blamed Trustee Carey for his mistake, leaving himself logged into his email on the most public computer in Scio Township Hall. And then on the other hand, he took a email from Trustee Carey, a professional internal Scio Township email that wasn't even addressed to him, and sent it to multiple residents without even trying to address the issue that he thought to be with Trustee Carey first. How can you miss the hypocrisy and the all-out gaslighting for our longtime gas man, Will? He's wasted hundreds of thousands of dollars on these dirty games and knows that when these charges are dropped, we, Scio, will have to pay the court costs for his vindictive behavior. He doesn't care, he'll be gone. I would appreciate in your follow-up to let us know where you stand with regard to these challenges and charges. Your silence will speak volumes. Many of you in the Fix Scio group under that psycho Jim Dries have told me that you do not have anything to do with his disgusting behavior, the lies that he's sending out in the mail, his negative campaigning, and you've even said that you have not given him permission to put your name on his literature. If that is true, please disavow the disgusting Fix Scio group that is lying and creating this negative attitude here in Scio Township, trying to pit residents against residents. We want residents who will work for us, not little clowns that belong to your Mr. Knowles and his amazingly disgusting wife there. Y'all take care.
Anybody else want to speak by Zoom? Please raise your hand. Seeing none. Back to you, Will.
All right, let's move on to approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes from.
Will, could I just could you give a response on the priority waste?
Oh.
Just some information about where we're at and how complaints are being processed.
So we have had a large number of complaints about service both before and after Priority Waste took over on July 1. We have, between Sean McCormick, our enforcement officer, and myself and others who've jumped into the fray, we've been trying to respond to all of the complaints as quickly as possible. We talked with an official at Priority Waste, and he is our point of contact temporarily until they get their customer service portal set up for Scio Township. So we've been relaying complaints to him over the holiday weekend. They were doing, as far as I could tell, their best to respond. I did hear from some of the complainants that their trash was picked up. But I do encourage residents who have complaints to use the form on our website, on the Scio Township website. That helps us to keep track of the data about the issues that are occurring, to know whether there's a pattern of service failures. And it helps us to make sure that we have all the information necessary to follow up. Sometimes when people leave a voice message, they forget to leave their address, which makes it impossible to follow up on a missed waste pickup complaint. So please continue to use those forms. We'll be continuing to work with Priority to try and make a more effective customer service system with them. That's sort of where we stand at this point. Then if there are any other things that anyone else would like to add, they're welcome to.
Ongoing issues in my neighborhood, and I have filed multiple complaints. I mean, in the portal, Sean's aware. We should have more knowledge about what's the resolution here now.
The resolution
To the pickup problems that have consistently been present for the last, I don't know, 4 months, 3 months. It's worse than the last month, but there's an issue.
The number of complaints did increase as GFL was nearing the end of its tenure, and there's no question about that. I think there was a service fall off. And now we have a new contractor under the same contract.
I'm well aware.
Okay, so they've been on the job now for a little over a week.
We've lost hundreds of thousands, longer than that.
We will continue to work with them, but if you have suggestions, Trustee Knoll or anyone else,
Well,
those are welcome.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking of, I was in here on Sunday and I was even getting calls on Sunday about this. And I, apologize to residents because I do feel a little stuck. And it is a major problem. Once when they said that they were gonna work through the 4th to catch up, and they did work. I do know they were working on the 4th. I do know they were working on the weekend. That was promising, but it's not enough. My understanding is that there was something that was gonna happen within these 2 weeks of setting up the customer service center. Is that right, Will? I was just wondering, does anybody know, can we expect this to get better by the 15th when they said that they'd have the customer service line set up, or
So
how do we need to solve this?
So Sean and I met with someone on Zoom today from Priority. The portal, as they call it, for Scio Township, dedicated to Scio Township service issues, is to be operational by this weekend. Sean and I got this kind of orientation to it, but we met with Joyce afterwards and talked with her about how to sort of structure staffing so that we can use this online portal that they are offering. It looks promising in terms of a way of facilitating communications with the people who are overseeing the drivers for Priority. It also will help us to track information and generate reports on issues that are occurring. So I don't know how it's going to work out. It looked promising in the orientation that we had today, but I think that's what you're referring to, Clerk Flintoff.
Yeah, and then also I know part of what's helpful when residents, report through the portal is it helps us track violations so that we can enforce the contract. what does everybody think should be our first time that we kind of check in with priority waste about that? I mean, is it, 2 weeks of the contract? Is it 4 weeks? When do we want to sit down with them again?
Well, I expect to be in communication with them during this transition period on a constant basis. It seems like, monitoring the service as they, transition into this role of covering Scio Township is going to help, I think, them to do a better job. One of the things that Sean and I have been doing is trying to orient them to particular service arrangements as we hear about them from residents. For example, people have door service, but they weren't getting door service. There's some neighborhoods where there's private roads that are very difficult. And for example, west Huron River Drive, there's been ongoing issues there with GFL. And so we were trying to help Priority to understand both the history of the service problems there, but also the challenges. And they were trying to come up with solutions, including smaller trucks to service neighborhoods that have private roads. So there's an ongoing dialogue. And so if people it is helpful to hear when people are having service issues. And so I do encourage people to use the forms because that helps us to help Priority to succeed in assuming this new role. I don't know that there's like some deadline that we want to establish, to sort of, I don't know what you have in mind, but I think regular communication with them is going to be important.
I'm just thinking out loud here, but we've got a code enforcement report in here. I'm wondering if maybe we could just take the first 30 days of data and have Sean compile it. I don't know what you think, Joyce, but maybe he could compile the first 30 days of data and we'll bring it back, maybe with priority waste in attendance at our first meeting in August.
Yeah, we can do that, and actually I as well apologize to the residents that they're actually going through something like this. There is a transition, but it's very frustrating to have a situation where your trash isn't being picked up.
Yeah.
I think we need to track and monitor and meet with them on a regular basis. And certainly we can bring a report back to you as well as invite them here to discuss that report in more detail and what's taking place. I think the other consideration is that it's my understanding that they're using the same equipment and the same staff. So with GFL, it's my understanding that their equipment was not like brand new and in good condition. So to me, a lot of the problems that occurred prior to the takeover with Priority is continuing since that has taken place because there are some other issues that need to be addressed.
Okay. So should we aim for the next meeting or the first meeting in August?
Maybe the first meeting in August.
Okay.
August.
14th?
Yes, the
Yeah,
14th.
and we'll be able to have more information.
Maybe have priority waste here
Yeah.
with some data.
Yes.
Because we do have certain, markers in our contract. I know it's difficult because it's sort of their new provider for us. So I don't know, Mariah, they probably don't pick up GFL's track record. They kind of have a clean slate. I mean, I think we'd have to look at it, so.
They still have to adhere to the provisions in the contract. And even though this contract heavily favored GFL, we still have some provisions that we should insist are enforced. Unfortunately, I mean, we don't have a lot of choice. And the contract had an assignment clause. We had very little choice with that. Our options were limited with seeking out another provider. So it's put us all in a bad place.
We could contract with another provider though, at the same time. That would give our residents options and.
No, actually, just in reviewing that issue, I don't know if we really have that option based on the structure of the contract that was signed by the township.
It's in our ordinance though.
Well, the contract that you signed, I believe supersedes the ordinance.
Interesting.
Are there further comments about?
Okay,
Ms.
August,
Tolling?
August 14th. And then I just wanted to make another comment, just generally to clear up some misinformation. There's no such thing as an anonymous contribution to a legal defense fund. Every contribution to a legal defense fund is published and public, easily accessible on the Secretary of State's website. Has the same quarterly reporting requirements, very similar to any campaign. So I just want to clear that up, that that is not a thing, as far as I know in Michigan.
Any further comments on anything in response to public comment? That seems to be where we're at. No, all right, let's move on. Approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes. These are this is for the regular meeting of June 25th. Are there any corrections for the minutes?
Yes, I have two.
Okay,
Go ahead.
well, why don't trustee
We
Carey?
have the same ones. We have the same ones.
In the, also present?
I screwed up. Yeah, township attorney
Yeah.
and Locke should be boss.
Well, and it should be James, not M. Okay, or J instead of M, because I was not there. Right. And what is Locke?
Sally boss.
Oh,
Boss.
well, that's really different.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's Evans.
Okay, so with those corrections to the attendance, are there any other additional corrections to minutes? If not, is someone prepared to move the minutes, approval of the minutes as corrected?
I'll move their adoption.
Okay, moved by Riser, support by Carey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Minutes are approved. Brings us to the consent agenda. Is someone prepared to move the consent agenda as modified?
I move the consent agenda as modified with the removal of page 5 regarding the handbook.
And the addition of L4, L5, and L6.
Right.
So moved by Riser, support by Noel. Please call the roll.
Okay, per our rules of order, tonight we're starting with Noel. Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Flintoff? Yes. Carrie?
Yes.
Consent agenda adopted 5-0.
All right, that brings us to reports. Regular reports, written reports. We also have with us this evening our enforcement officer.
If Sean McCormick, in case there's questions related to his report.
Great. Thanks, Sean.
Are there questions for Sean?
What are you gonna do about priority waste?
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Where do we start, Sean?
This way we see the big ones.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I mean, the residents are obviously reporting the missed collections. I came back today, I'll throw a number, there had to be between 30 and 50 complaints. Will is, and Jessica both tried to handle complaints throughout when I left, well, the holiday and then the weekend, and then came back today. Spent majority of today on the phone and answering emails and complaints. The non-collections are there. The portal is encouraging, and hopefully in the future, like 6 months or so, it'll be open to the public to actually be able to follow the missed collections and that, but currently when we're up and running on a portal, it's gonna have to be entered by an employee. And then it's all trackable and you can see the status and how it was, and you can actually request a video from the trucks to see if the trash bins were out or not, if it was actually picked up or not. So the technology aspect of it is encouraging from what we saw today. Proof will be in the pudding. But currently, residents are going without their trash picked up, which is obviously upsetting, and I don't fault them. They're paying for a service that's not being provided. And they're letting us know. I don't have an answer or magic ball to say priority will be up and running and not missing collections within 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. My fingers crossed it'd be tomorrow, but no idea.
Would there be a way that they could get a discount
I don't know how that would happen. Previously with GFL, we could put them in touch with the customer representative manager that we dealt with, and she would take care of that. It's something we can reach out and ask that question.
Worth a try.
Yeah.
And Sean, and maybe it's for Sean, Joyce, Will, some combination. How, when, in managing the contract with GFL, and Sean, thank you for your collection and aggregation of good data on this topic. Has that been helpful when talking to GFL, and do you anticipate like gathering this data is going to be helpful with compliance?
With priority?
Yeah. Was it helpful in the conversations and the sit downs with GFL?
Oh, sure. You know, when we could point to a pattern of problems, they, you know, it was kind of indisputable. GFL didn't argue with us about it that much. Sometimes they would say, oh, well, the bin wasn't out or something like that. But I think you're right, Sean, having the video cameras on all of the trucks will help with that, because it won't be a he said, she said kind of argument. It'll be a, you know, here's the video evidence. The bin was either there or wasn't, and it was either emptied or it wasn't.
And also from what they showed us today, it's all GPS based. They can show you how long a truck was stopped at the residence, which then confirms by the video the trucks. Supposedly they're taking all the GFL trucks currently and outfitting them with the camera systems. Obviously that takes time. GFL's concern is may have been Manager Parker, somebody or Will, is their equipment, their trucks. We had heard that previously with GFL. Their trucks, you know, were, I won't say continuously breaking down, but that was an issue prior to, and the one reps told us they had to rent 10 different trucks just to help pick up what their vehicles were down. So obviously it's priorities issue. They purchased it all, and you know, priorities needs to fulfill the contract and pick up the trash. But that is kind of, I think, where things stand currently, is that they took over the company and may not have had the ideal equipment to carry everything out.
I think we're gonna see a transition, and hopefully they can get up to speed pretty quickly.
Okay, and with the portal, where customers can, for the priority waste demonstration.
Yeah.
Do we have a plan about how we're gonna regularly monitor kind of the data? Because they mentioned that we'd be able to kind of see a dashboard or something.
It is fully exportable. We'll ask that question today. You can run reports on that. If you have a sign on through the like administrative wise, you can go in, you can see all the complaints, you can see how, you know, when it was filed, the address, you could see what it was, missed, trash, recycle, and it's customizable. They'll modify it to fit what we want to be reporting on and collecting data on. And then you'll see the status, and then you can see where their notes, what action they took. They're advising us, they will follow up with the resident, call them and say, you know, X, Y, and Z happened or whatnot, and we'll be back out, or your trash wasn't out when the truck came by. Therefore, you know, it wasn't collected. Those notes will be in there and we can review, and then as they indicated, you can then run reports, you can export it and have all that data.
Okay. And so who will be, it's okay if we don't know the answer to this right now, but who will be responsible for that here at Scio?
I don't think we have that answer yet.
Okay.
So it's further conversation. Some of that needs to be an employee that's here more often than a part-time person, because as complaints come in, you want those complaints to be entered on the portal so that priority knows that they missed a pickup and can get a recovery truck back out there. So
we have to enter?
Currently, yes, until they get the system up and running where they're gonna open it up to residents to be able to do it, which is 6 months or so out.
Oh, that's 6 months. So what they presented at our meeting.
Your complaints would still be preferably filed through the township website using the form, because that'll provide us all the necessary information.
There's a form.
Right, yep.
Okay, I'm sorry I missed that memo. It is just
It
registering
wasn't a
right now.
memo. We found out today at like 3:30.
Yeah, memo was figured it, yes, because in the presentation, they said that would be available to customers, that they would directly communicate and we'd be able to look at the back end.
I think
So
that's
that's
the
6 months
ultimate
away?
goal. That's the ultimate goal. They're not there.
That's
That's-
frustrating.
But it's a step, in some ways, it's a step forward, in that we can generate the reports ourselves the township can generate reports from the data ourselves rather than having to wait.
Right.
The reporting, the data and the information that you can see and collect and then just even track is a few steps above what GFL is providing for sure. I mean, once you send a complaint to GFL, we didn't really know what happened to it until they started giving us the monthly reports here recently. But otherwise, you really didn't have a whole lot of follow-up data. And at least with priority in a perfect world, and I get, not everything's perfect, but you can sign on and actually track the complaint that you filed yesterday and see what the response is, where it stands, and you can request a video if need be, and they'll upload it to it.
Are there other questions for Sean? Thank you, Sean. And thanks for working so hard on your day back, first day back after the weekend.
Have a good night.
Okay, so are there any other reports, comments about reports?
I have a brief comment. At the CARD meeting, we were informed by Washington County that they had gotten the recent well testing results back. Now, we got an informal report at the CARD meeting. We haven't gotten the formal report yet, but I can give some basic information about it. They tested 153 samples. There were 36 positive dioxane detections in drinking water wells. 20 of the detections were higher than the prior detection. 10 were lower. The highest detection in Scio was 2.8 parts per billion. There were 4 new detections. We don't know the addresses yet where they are, so we're waiting for that information from the county.
Kristen. Washington County.
It's usually Jenny. Kristen was the person who gave us the overview at the CARD meeting, but typically it's Jenny who provides these reports. Jenny was on vacation last week.
Thank you, trustee Carey.
Joyce, I have a question. In the MTA newsletter, Insights or magazine, Bethany Verbal had a really nice article, and it reminded me that we had hired her, well, through Manica Custarian. It's been a while, but she was supposed to do a study on internal controls, and where are we in that process?
She has been working with Matter Custarian.
Yes.
Regarding policies and standard operating procedures for the township. And I have a draft report. She's almost done, but we have the draft report. We're reviewing it right now. We're gonna review it with each department just to make sure that what is being stated is something that reflects implementation moving forward. And in some cases, there's been changes to the operating procedures to make improvements. So we want to review those with departments. Once we do that, we can get that out to the board.
Okay, that's good. I
Yeah.
guess I asked too early. It sounds like it's gonna be here soon. In the wage and salary study, well, I know this is, or I guess I should have asked her when she was here last time, that in the performance review plan, when's the deadline for those, or potential deadline?
I would need to touch base with her and maybe get back with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Are there further reports? Township manager, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I do not have a report tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
Just had one item.
Sure.
Just an update on the election. We have an election upcoming on August 6th. To prepare for that, we have an election commission meeting on Monday at 10 a.m. here in this room. We're going to be appointing election inspectors, and we'll also be running a public accuracy test. I invite everybody to either tune in on Zoom or come personally. It's a great chance to, especially if you have any friends who have any questions about the integrity and accuracy of our elections, invite them, because they'll actually be able to put ballots in the tabulator, see how they're tabulated, and confirm that the tabulator counts the ballot's accuracy. That is the fundamental purpose of it and what's demonstrated. So encourage people to come. If you know anybody who needs to register to vote, encourage them to do so online or at the township clerk's office. Request an absentee ballot. Thus far, we have 4,938 AV ballots that are issued. About 11% of them are back, 540, which is pretty typical. There's a lot of people who just get their ballots and turn it right back around. Handling a lot more bounce backs of ballots because of the permanent ballot list, and so finding people who are vacationing up north or whatnot. Also want to announce the deadline of Thursday, July 18th at 4 p.m. for any candidate without a political party affiliation who would like to seek township office and appear on the November ballot. It's unusual, but I want to make sure everybody knows that that's an option.
If we're done with reports, we have no public hearings this evening nor unfinished business, so that brings us to new business. Item L1 is the Firestone Detail Engineering Site Plan.
Is there anybody joining online?
I don't know if there's anyone present who is here for that in representing the applicant. You're welcome to come forward.
Laura.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
So I guess I'll go first. I'll just do a little introduction. I understand the applicant probably is there in person. This has come before the board prior for a conditional use approval. This is for detail engineering site plan.
Laura.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm having trouble keeping the volume down in here. Could you speak a little more quietly?
Oh, of course.
Thank you so much. Okay.
I've never been asked to speak more quietly.
You're good. You're good. Thank you.
So this is a detail engineering site plan for approval of the Firestone Complete Auto Care on Unit 1 of the Shops of Scio condominium located at 5920 Jackson Road. This is currently a vacant site that is zoned C2, general commercial, and minor auto repair facilities are a conditional use in that district. As I indicated, the Planning Commission recommended approval of a conditional use to the board in October. The board then approved the conditional use at their November meeting. And so now the Planning Commission then approved the site plan on March 25th of this year. And now all of those items the Planning Commission had in their motion have been addressed. And you have all of the engineer, fire, Washtenaw County Road Commission, Water Resources Commission, all of those approvals in your packet as well. So I'm happy to answer any procedural questions, but the applicant can probably best answer any project questions.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Todd Hamula, 14600 Detroit Avenue, Lakewood, Ohio. Here on behalf of Bridgestone Firestone, we're anxious to get this project up and moving and started under construction hopefully later on this year. With your support and approval tonight, I'm here for any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from members of the board?
The only question I had is, and maybe it's more for Laura. Did we land on the EV chargers? Was there a resolution there on the type and everything?
Yes. Yep. It's all included in the site plan.
Great.
If there are no other questions or comments, is someone prepared to make the model motion to approve SP? Actually, I'm not sure of the number here. Laura, is this correct?
It's 23030.
2020.
23030.
Yes, in the model motion.
Okay, so that is accurate.
That's accurate.
Okay, so it's SP number 23030, Firestone detail engineering site plan. Is someone prepared to make the motion to approve? Okay, moved by Clerk Flintoff, support by Trustee Carey. Please call the roll.
Okay, Noel,
Yes.
Riser,
Yes.
Hathaway,
Yes.
Flintoff, yes, Carrie,
Yes.
motion adopted 5-0. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was record.
Point of information is that in the OHM, it does say 23020, and in the planning commission, it was 23020. So is it 23020 or 23030?
2-0, which is why Laura and Will just confirmed that.
Except I read it off.
He read it off as 030.
Oh,
Yeah.
apologies.
So maybe I misheard Laura. So it's,
Laura?
We will confirm with Fran. Fran keeps the numbers. So
Okay.
let's confirm with Fran in the morning.
okay, so but the important thing is that we approved the Firestone detail engineering site plan, whatever its number may be.
Correct.
If that's a scrivener's error, it could be corrected without coming back.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is item L2. This is OA number 24003/ZOA number 2024-04 Provenzola rezoning at 6869 Marshall Road. Do we have the applicant, a representative of the applicant here this evening?
I believe they're online.
Oh, okay, so someone's on the line.
And their names?
Cassandra Provenzola.
Okay. Sandra, bringing you in as a panelist, you're welcome to share your video as well.
Laura, do you want to introduce this, please?
Sure. This is a request for rezoning of property located at 6869 Marshall Road. This is a 15.1 acre parcel on the south side of Marshall Road between Marshall Lakes Drive and Marshall Court. The site contains an existing commercial/industrial building with associated parking. According to the township record card, the building was constructed in about 1977. The site has frontage on Marshall Road with a single driveway access point from Marshall Road. And the purpose of the rezoning from OS office service to A1 general agriculture is so that the applicant can convert the structure to a single family residential structure.
Ms. Provenzola, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, sorry, I am in my car. We had we have a very unique experience. We are on the road right now trying to connect to the meeting, so I apologize if it's a little bit wacky and it's very hard for me to hear actually. I am here for any questions that you may have. We are very excited to get this eyesore as something a little bit more beautiful in Scio Township and convert this property into our family home.
Are there any questions?
I have a question. And I don't know if she can hear, but I sat in, or I watched the meeting, the planning commission meeting when this was on the agenda. And I was pretty excited about this. I drive down Marshall Road and I've seen this house or whatever it is sitting there, building. Yeah, it's pretty exciting that something's gonna happen with it. But reading through, it talks about a home business. And if I remember correctly, what you had said in the planning commission meeting was that the home business, it was really about just having a pass through for, is it kitchen?
Kitchen.
Is it kitchen? Is that what I
Yeah,
remember?
so yes, we have a business in downtown Dexter where we're an established actual business. So all of our daily activities realistically are at our actual commercially zoned building, which is actually located off of Baker Road right downtown. So this property will be my personal office where we will also then receive some deliveries for our things that we do in our renovation work. So mainly just some deliveries, mostly light deliveries from what I'm anticipating. But I do anticipate that, I'll have probably the off client to my house or something that I'll invite in, but most of our work is done on Baker Road at our actual commercial space.
Okay, so it won't impact the neighbors.
No, we are going to actually live there, so we want to be on really good terms with our neighbors, absolutely. So we don't want to do anything that would be impactful to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And so Cassandra, just to clarify, the light delivery, you're not expecting a lot of traffic or heavy trucks up and down Marshall?
I am expecting the occasional heavy truck. Our heavy trucks are not like gravel haulers though. I think it's more of like a cube truck that would be delivering to us. I don't want to say that we would never get a semi. We get an occasional semi at my own personal residence right now, probably. What do you think? Every third month or so, when they bring something to us. But most of what we get is a cube vehicle, and realistically it's more like what I'm in right now, which is like a transit for UPS, FedEx, Amazon, and beyond.
Great.
That drive that kind of a vehicle.
Oh yeah, you can see.
It's like a tour of the truck.
Yes, sorry, you're touring the truck. Yes, I'm here and I don't know how to fix that.
You're good. You're good. Thank you.
Further questions? If there are no further questions, is someone prepared to move the model motion to approve the rezoning of 6869 Marshall Road, H-08-17-400-012 from OS Office Service to A-1 General Agriculture?
And just to be clear, approving the document that was handed out to us at the table, right? The COA? Yeah, just for the record.
So this is the actual.
Yeah, this
Resolution.
is what was distributed and what is intended for us to take action on. There's nothing substantively different, but I just want to make clear what document we're taking action on.
So this motion is to approve this document?
Yes.
Okay.
So would you, from the amendment as reflected in the attachment distributed July 9th, entitled Scio Township, Washtenaw County, ZOA 2024-04, Provenzola, rezoning 6869 Marshall Road, which is two-page document plus the clerk's certificate?
Well, actually, you could just make the motion because no one.
There you go.
All right. And as well as the other.
This is different. This is for a different matter.
Yep, okay, I would make that motion.
Okay, moved by Riser, support by
I'll support.
Trustee Carey. Please call the roll.
Noel?
Yes.
Riser?
Yes.
Hathaway?
Yes.
Flintoff? Yes. Carrie?
Yes.
Motion adopted 5-0. Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Mhm.
All right, that brings us to item L3. This is CU number 24003, Towns at Honey Creek. Is there someone representing the applicant? Great, we have two people with, is there anyone else participating online?
No, there's not.
Okay, Laura, do you want to introduce and turn it over to them?
Sure, this request is for a conditional use approval to construct 60 townhome units on 11.07 acres that is part of the Menards Outlot development. The site is currently vacant and is zoned C2 general commercial and is also part of the Jackson Road Overlay District. Multiple family residential as part of an overall mixed use development is listed as a conditional use in the C2 zoning district. The attached townhome units are proposed containing 3, 4, 5, and 6 units and has a density of 5.4 units per acre. The site is accessed via an existing eastern Menards Drive from Jackson Road, and a private road with cul-de-sac will access the proposed townhome development from the existing Menards driveway. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the conditional use after a public hearing on June 10th. This is the conditional use part. A site plan will then come back for details of the actual development of the site. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And I know Matt can also answer any questions for the applicant.
Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, absolutely. We do have, if you so choose to listen to it, we do have a presentation here, if I can be promoted to share my screen. I'll keep it really brief because Laura did a good job summarizing everything. Just, we brought it, so we'll show you, just give you a little more context.
Sure. And I'm sorry, what was your name again?
I'm sorry, Matthew Bush,
Thank you, Matt.
USH.
And my name is Mike Kennedy. I'm a Vice President of Land Acquisition with MI Homes.
All right, give me 1 second. Join us, ma'am. Share my screen now. Sharing for some. I did this a month ago, so.
No problem. Are you using the Zoom share?
Yeah,
there
I'm
you go.
trying to. It looks like
Okay.
it's gonna get going here. There we go. There we go. All right. Just windows within windows. All right. Perfect. So yes, I appreciate it. Thank you for the time here, board members. My name is Matthew Bush with Atwell. We're the consulting engineer, and with me I have Mike Kennedy with MI Homes. He's the developer and applicant with this project we bring before you. Excited to be here. This is the first step in the process, but we're excited to be here nonetheless. Again, we've received a good report from Laura. The reports from the consultants are in your packet, and we received recommendation for approval from the PC last month on the 10th of June. So I'll keep this pretty brief, but figured it wouldn't hurt here to give you a little of context. Subject property is the Menards site. I think most people know where that is, but it's off of Jackson Road on the corner of Stabler and Jackson. That property is within the Jackson Road Overlay District, and it's also zoned C2. If my computer would allow me to change to the next, there we go. Zooming into the site here, you'll see just a little bit where we're looking to develop on the east side of the Menards property. It's currently a vacant parcel of land that we're looking to land split off, and we're looking to develop with townhomes, with multifamily residential, specifically townhomes. That is why we're here tonight, because in order for C2, multifamily is an approved or is a conditional use that is allowed under the C2 zoning. And so we're here for your first step approval of that conditional use. You can see on the screen or in front of you here, are conceptual. Again, we're gonna have to go through the full site plan process, but conceptually, we're looking at 60 townhome units fit in there on the east side of the Menards property. We believe this to be a great transitional use from the single family to the south and the industrial zoning to the north of our development area. And in addition to that, we think that the townhome style product or housing product will be a desired alternative housing in the township. In our opinion, we have a little blow up of our, again, concept plan. As we go through the site plan process, I'm sure we'll be receiving feedback and addressing accordingly. But just to give you a little bit of context to we're staying out of the natural buffer from, Honey Creek, or that's the current plan. We're doing a lot of stormwater BMPs and infiltration basins to try and direct stormwater into the ground. You can see a number of those spread across the site. We are maintaining the pedestrian connectivity to the south. There's no question, we're not interrupting that or removing that. And we are planning to provide internal sidewalks to the site. So again, there'll be a whole site plan process through the county drain office and through the consultants and through the board again, but just we're here. Here's an example elevation just for you to start taking a look at what we would like to put on the site. So with that said, focusing on the use itself, we're here to answer any questions you might have, and we're happy to be here and move this thing forward.
Are there questions from members of the board? Clerk Flintoff.
Sure, thank you so much. I like seeing the multifamily housing, particularly along Jackson. And one thing I'd like to see in this, and I know we've asked our planning commission to look at this and plan our process is not formalized in terms of a policy about below market rate housing, but it's certainly a priority. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how we could get some below market rate housing in this development if possible. We've got a growing number of rentals in Scio Township. So my first question is, would you intend for these to be rented or would these be owned?
These are a for sale product.
It should have been one of the
All
big
for
things in the
sale?
presentation.
Yeah.
Yes, these
Okay.
are for sale, correct?
Okay, so these are not rentals.
Correct.
Okay, so they'll all be owned.
Correct.
Okay, okay. All right, then that's a little bit different. With this, we've had others come through that are rentals. Did you consider at all any sort of programs to help kind of first-time home owners or any others?
Well, since it is a for sale product, we do have our own internal marketing campaigns for first time home buyers. There's a rate discount, buy downs, there's different options that are thrown in, but all that is determined, once the product is built and gauging how the market's receiving it. But for rental products, we don't build rental products. It's always for sale.
Additional comments or questions?
I do.
Okay, please go ahead.
No, I did. Okay, the businesses, and maybe this is more for Laura, to the north, I think, I'm trying to remember because I drive by it all the time and just don't pay attention, but I know that the habitat reuse is back there. This is on Jackson, but it would be north of the homes. Is there anything that's toxic or noise or, let's see, odor or anything from those companies in there? I don't remember, and I just wanted to make sure, and it does look like there's a buffer of trees, but how dense are those trees?
Yeah, so the properties along Jackson Road are a mix of commercial and light industrial there, but the light industrial is primarily office type facilities. I'd have to go back out and look and see exactly, but I believe the Restore is there. I believe the I forget the name of it, but the gentleman that owns the blinds, the interior store, is right out there. So it's not really, I wouldn't call it industrial. I'd call it more like office, general commercial type uses. But there is a very significant tree line along the north side of that property, and then again the Honey Creek on the south side. So the transition for this type of multifamily between the commercial and between the single family it seems like a good fit.
Yeah, I agree. I think the residents in Trailwoods would be happy. I know they weren't happy about the storage unit idea. Another thing, how many RUs would 60 units, residential units need?
60.
I believe it's 60.
It is one for each unit. Okay, I wasn't sure of the size or how many bathrooms or whatnot. Yeah, because we're eating away at our RUs. Not that this is a big project, but it's something that we need to always consider. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah, thank you.
So Trustee Nolan, you didn't have any? Trustee Riley?
So when you say multifamily, Could you go back to I guess we're only talking about the conditional use permit. We're not talking about preliminary site plans or anything. This is just the concept that you have, correct?
This is the use.
The use, yeah, the
We're
use.
showing the concept of what
This is
could
the
be
use,
done.
and the details are gonna be filled in later. And it's going to be multifamily, but it's going to be owner occupied.
Correct.
And I didn't see much by way of open space and playgrounds and walking paths, but I guess all that stuff is gonna be fleshed out as you develop plans.
It will be, yes,
Okay.
that'll be all part of the site plan requirements.
John, what are the possibilities? I mean, it's a pretty small site.
That's.
I'm just asking out loud, really. It's
Well,
pretty small. I don't know what potential
Well,
there is.
I was gonna ask if they had anything, and I guess now's perhaps not the time to do that, but to the extent that you can have some open space, that you can have some playground, that you can have, I don't know, are there gonna be families with kids, or are you gonna market towards seniors or adults, or do you have any sense of that?
Typically, since it's townhome, it's usually a couple or a person that's just graduating, I'll call, from apartments or rentals. This is a lot of times a first-time home buyer. Typically, they're not families at this stage yet because, typically a family wants a yard. So I would say it's a transitional between a rental and a single-family home. There are, however, professionals that do this or rent or buy these. But that's typically your target demographic.
What do you estimate these will go for?
In the 400s.
2-bedroom townhome?
They're three bedroom with a loft typically. So they're 2 stories. There is no basement, they're on a slab.
Trustee Reiser, I actually went out to the site today to take a look at it because I haven't been out there in a long time. And one thing that I can attest to is that walkway that exists between Menards and connecting down to the south to Trailwoods is now apparently complete. I saw families using it today, kids on bikes with training wheels and, parents pushing strollers and even in the rain. And it now connects to the woods to the south and all the way down to Park Road. So I think in some ways this location is better suited to families with kids than a lot of parts of Scio Township. Although there isn't a playground, as was pointed out at our last meeting.
I have one other question.
Sure.
The road. It's hard to, because I'm looking here in the paper, but the road, is that its own road, separate road from the parking lot? Would there be, or is it kind of just along the parking lot of Menards to get to Jackson, and then it's just I can see the lines, but that's just lines on.
Yeah, I could share my screen if possible, or I can just talk through it. It's a shared drive in. There's no parking off of the drive if you look at an aerial or the plan, but it is a shared drive. There is Menards parking, you pull off into it, so it's a shared use down to the development. It's not its own separate drive. Menards patrons might use that shared drive as well.
It's not the main entrance though. That was one thing that I noticed when I went there today. It's of the Menards access drives, it's the less used drive.
So is it the drive here? This one, sorry.
It's the drive to the east of the property.
So this is the main entrance here.
Yeah, and it's this.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's a stop sign, I think, at least one. It seemed like, part of the reason I went is to refresh my memory, and how it would be as a residential area, and I think it's a much better use. I think anyone would agree it's a much better use of that site than the self-storage.
I agree.
Are there any further questions or comments?
I'm ready to move it unless there is, unless there are.
Right, and I think this is the other attachment that,
I got it, yeah.
okay,
I move to allow the conditional use of multiple family residential as part of an overall mixed-use development in the Menards Outlot Development located at 6405 Jackson Road, parcel H-08-21-300-015, a portion thereof, and parcel H-08-21-200-010, a portion thereof, as reflected in the two-page attachment distributed at the July 9th Scio Township Board of Trustees meeting.
is there a second for the motion?
Sure, I'll second.
Okay, moved by Riser, support by Carrie. Please call the roll.
Noel,
Yes.
Riser,
Yes.
Hathaway,
Yes.
Flintoff, yes, Carrie,
Yes.
CUP adopted 5-0. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Laura.
That brings us to L7. This is a resolution or item that added with the attached or offered resolution for the fire assessment discussion, I guess.
I was just checking for the chief in case he wanted to join from vacation, but he is not on it. So good job, Andy.
All right, well, take it away, clerk.
Okay, great. Yeah, I wanted to bring this, at our we've been talking for months about considering a second question to put on the November ballot, if we want to do it, what that question will be. Mark's been working for months on a report with the chief, with David Reed. We had talked at our last meeting in June about having a discussion at this meeting. I know our interim finance director, Brian Kamler, has come up with some projections of what it would take. I know that Mark and Andy and David are very close with a draft of a business case to sort of describe some of the needs. And I think it's been many meetings, I've been talking about the deadline and the calendar. The deadline for placing something on the November ballot is Tuesday, August 14th at 4 p.m. That is 3 hours before our first regular meeting in August. Okay, and so I'm emphasizing that our next and only regular meeting, our next regular meeting is our only regular meeting before the deadline. And so I want to just have a discussion here about the importance of having that deliberation and discussion on Tuesday, July 23rd. In discussions with the manager and Will, the idea was maybe also adding some time for a special meeting, so we're not too rushed. And so I drafted up a resolution here that would kind of outline a process for us, which would be, and just to throw it out there, because we have all the pieces in motion, we know that the projections are between 2.5 and 3 mil with a recommendation of 2.7 mil over a 12 or 16-year period. We're gonna have to deliberate on that. We're gonna have to hear the business case and hear what sort of interim step is being recommended. I know Mariah has been asked to come up with some draft ballot language, but all of that's in motion. And so this would be to call for a special meeting on Tuesday, July 23rd at 6 p.m. So we'd start an hour early. We'd have a chance to hear the presentation from Chief Hood and Mark and David. And then that at our regular meeting, starting at 7, Brian Kamler could join us. He'd be available, he said, to kind of go over the projections as he did for water and sewer. And then finally resolved that at that meeting, we would decide on the ballot language for fire services for placement on the November 5th ballot. So this would really commit us to making a decision at our next regular meeting.
Okay.
Comments?
Yes, so I spoke to Andy Hood over the weekend. I didn't know he was on vacation. but, because I was surprised that the fire issue wasn't on our agenda. And I got some calls from people, I'm like, I don't know what happened, so I called him. He says the work is substantially done. And I'm thinking the board should see the draft. I mean, we don't need to wait until 2 days before our next meeting to get our board packet with all of this information. We should have this information much sooner so we can review it, think about it, ask questions if we need to. Andy was fine with putting this on the agenda for the next meeting. He wanted a commitment that we were going to be doing it, and he urged us to pass something tonight stating it is our plan to put this on the agenda for the next meeting.
This being the discussion and
Yeah,
potential
the
action.
discussion and potential action.
And I think the business case, I agree, Kathy, whenever that draft is ready to be shared with the board to kind of share it out, it's not going to be something we're acting on. You know, I think, I don't know, I haven't seen it, but I think that it kind of makes the business case for a proposal. What we'd be acting on is the potential ballot language after we hear the business case and after we hear the financial projections from Brian, which I already circulated to the board. We kind of looked at what's feasible in terms of, you know, what it would take to fund that.
Trustee Carey?
Yes, I'm in agreement. We need to move on this. I mean, we talked about this for months now, and we had conversations about putting this on the November ballot. So I think that we should move ahead. And, you know, voters really, it needs to go in front of voters. I know we have the option of imposing under Public Act 33, imposing millage onto our voters or onto our residents, but I'm not in favor of that. I want this in front of the voters so that they can make up their own minds. But I also agree that it needs to be a reasonable rate and also better communication.
Trustee Riser?
I'm okay with it coming up on Tuesday, the 23rd, whether it's at 6 o'clock or whether it's during a regular meeting. I'll come an hour early for this. It's important. And it would be nice for as many options as are under consideration be part of the packet and gotten out to the board, but also to the residents. So we're currently at 1.35, and we got to do something about that. And I've got an additional comparison at 2 mils. Then there's comparisons for 2.25, and then I see 2.5, and then 2.7 and 3.0. So it looks like we have, well, I guess you could leave it at 1.35 with renew and restore. You could do a 2, you could do a 2.25, you could do a 2.5, a 2.7, and a 3. So there are a lot of options as far as what the rate's going to be. My concern is, this is coming from a guy who was in favor of the last one and who went door to door for the last one. That went down 2 to 1. So I'm going to be really sensitive to how much we ask the voters to vote on in November for fear that it doesn't pass. But that's not something we have to decide tonight. I'm good with putting it on the 23rd. Whether we take action on the 23rd or a special meeting, the first week in August, I'm open to doing it then as well, taking action there. But I'm certainly think we should hear from the chief and the committee at our July 23rd meeting, and I'm willing to do that. Whether we have to take action that night or at a special meeting before August 14th, and I don't mean the day before or hours before, but the week before, I might be open to that as well, but that's not something we have to decide tonight.
Point of clarification, the 2.0 and 2.25 I don't know if you printed that out in black and white.
I did.
Yeah, the bottom there is in red. So he was demonstrating that those were totally unfeasible.
I understand that.
Yeah,
We're at
so-
135, and that's our discussion point.
Yeah, so, but just to be clear.
I understand that, what
yeah,
it's, I can,
he would, what that means is 2.0 and 2.25 would not build a second station. To be clear, and we asked him to run those numbers to show that.
We asked him to run the numbers, not to show that necessarily, but.
No,
so-
but he shows the shortfall in terms of actual dollars, in terms of what's actually needed. So I just want to be clear, John, that if, depending again, and maybe there's something in between, but I think when the chief last presented to us a couple months ago at a special meeting, the in-between was kind of taking back, not going for the advanced life support, rolling back the EMS, right? Reducing those 9 firefighters, but still building that second station, reducing the square footage a little bit as much as possible, looking at where we can, get funding for capital other places. But I just want to be really clear that the 2.0 and 2.25 is not feasible in terms of actual dollars.
and I appreciate
Yeah.
that. And I don't know that the residents are gonna go for a 100% increase on their fire millage. And if this goes down in November, we're screwed. So
Right, I'm just saying, we
gotta-
can't build half a building. It's just, those are off the table.
I appreciate
Can
that.
can I rein in, because I think we're starting to have the discussion that we're planning on scheduling for the
Right.
23rd. And what we're really focused on this evening is scheduling that
Right.
discussion and
I'm-
potential action. And I think your point is well made, that if we can't reach agreement on something on the 23rd, we do have the option to schedule a special meeting at that point so that we can extend the discussion and the deliberation.
If we need to, we don't have.
If necessary.
Yeah, and if we need to, and to be plain, the title of my resolution is a resolution to decide on the placement of the fire services ballot question before August 6th. So I understand that, the board can do whatever it wants to do after passing this resolution. This intention would be that we have enough information to make a decision before August 6th. Certainly, we could get to July 23rd and the board could say, we're not ready. We're going to schedule a special meeting for August 7th. I understand that maybe what you or someone else wants to do. I want to encourage us
Let's shoot for August 8th if we're gonna do it.
to try to make, well, no, I think it's important that this board, this idea of kicking it past August 6th has come up in the last 2 weeks. And I think that we need to, if we have all the information, I appreciate there may be more questions, and that's why I want to get the draft out, whatever we have. But I just want people to, I just think that we will have enough information up or down about putting it on the ballot by the 23rd. So I'd ask everybody to work toward that.
Unless we vote for a SAT ourselves, in this body.
Well, there's
As a
different.
potential on July 23rd.
And any day, we could.
There's
Oh,
different.
I understand. I understand that's always an option. I just, and certainly, I think you could propose to put that on the agenda at any point. There's different ways of doing it. I share Jillian's strong preference that we put this question to voters. I also want to note that in presidential elections, the voters who come out are much different than the voters who come out in November of 2023. And so I just want to say the 2-to-1, yes.
I know.
And it was a different denominator.
Well,
It was a different denominator in terms of who votes and how many vote. And I just want to say, in terms of getting a representative sample of Scio Township, November 2024 or November 2028
Yeah.
is where it's at.
And another thing is Mark, Chief Hood, and David Reed worked on this. It's going to be different than the fire committee. The fire committee did a great job. And I think that they were seeing the big picture, like, oh my God, we've got to catch up because it's been ignored for so long. So they put it all, they put it all out there.
Yeah.
And it was confusing. It wasn't communicated as well as it could have been, but they did a great job. So now we have a different group. Mark says that, he's going through this with them to make sure it's presented in a different way I don't know all his language or terms that he uses, but I really think that this is going to be different. And, you know, we need to increase this because I keep going to Highland Township, which is our sister township. They are charter, but they have the same population, same taxable base, taxable value that we have, and they have 2 millages for fire. Almost right under 3 mills with the combination.
I
So,
would vote for any one of these at the polls. The question I have, are the residents going to?
well, I don't know, we have to find out.
Well, we have to vote on the 23rd to put it before the residents.
I would like
you know,
to suggest that
and-
my reading of the room is you have the votes to approve this, and that is the point, is to schedule this. And we're sort of spilling over into the discussion of the substance, but
Sure,
why
and
don't we move this and
Sure,
see?
and actually, but I do want to clarify for John and Will that the resolution is the intention is to try to make a decision on this before August
I
6th.
think we're all clear on that.
Would you accept a friendly amendment that say before August 8th or August 9th?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't, as Clerk Flintoff pointed
All
out,
right.
if the board as a whole can't reach a conclusion on the 23rd, the board can do whatever it
Yeah,
wants.
I
at
just
that
want to
point.
make, I just want us to do some good policy making and not worry about a local election, before then.
I'm not worried about the local election. I'm worried about the one that matters, whether the residents are gonna support this or not. That's the only one that matters.
Absolutely.
Local. That's
Absolutely.
Okay, so is someone gonna make the motion to?
Sure, I'd like to offer the resolution as presented.
I'll support.
Okay, so moved by Flintoff, support by Noel. Please call the roll.
Noel,
Yes.
Riser,
Yes.
Hathaway,
Yes.
Flintoff, yes, Carrie,
yes.
resolution adopted 5-0.
Okay. That brings us to our second public comment. This is a time for members of the public to speak for up to 3 minutes on any matter under the purview of Board of Trustees. And Trustee Riser, will you again serve as our timekeeper?
And go.
I'm Monica Knowles. I'm back for some particulars on my former comment that I know that there are campaign laws and what needs to be followed. What was questionable was GoFundMe and how that's used. And I'm not a campaign, I'm not somebody who's, I don't have all the ins and outs. Consequently, I asked the county elections bureau about this, and they thought it was an excellent question. And one they didn't have the answer to, and they referred me to the state. So I actually have that into the state. But my comments to you, Jillian, are really, first of all, people are supporting you, that's great. You didn't ask, I don't know, but anonymous contributions, those get people's attention, particularly when you're voting on things. And that could all be eliminated if you're transparent with who, because surely you know who made those donations. And if you're transparent with it, then other people do, and that takes away all the gray area. And so I just wanted to clarify that because you had talked to Jessica, you talked about, in terms of what needed to be done. And so I just want to know what my thoughts were on that.
Great, thank you, Monica.
Hi, Kathleen Grant, still running for trustee. Let's just do a little example on campaign finance law. Legal defense fund. If you look at the law, there are filing dates for those things. They must be revealed. Let's not make it seem like, oh, a GoFundMe, there's somebody that's trying to influence you. There are filing dates. I'm sure Trustee Carey will follow those dates. So let's stop talking about something that's ridiculous. Okay, done with that rant. Manager Custodian internal controls. Manager Parker, I would like to see the report from Manager Custodian. It doesn't seem like you have shared the report with the board or the public. Do I have to file a FOIA request to get that reporting? I'll let you think about that. I do not know why you are not sharing these reports with the board and the public. That is not good administrative policy. Priority waste. This board allowed the supervisor to not enforce the contract with GFL for 3.5 years. Rob Pattinson did an analysis capturing the data he could find on the number of complaints and the severity. And he estimated that the township failed to capture over $300,000 in fines from GFL. At the point in time that you approved the contract with Priority Waste, at that point in time, you could have asked Priority Waste for some relief of the obligation from GFL. That moment was gone, that opportunity was lost. It seems to me that again, we have the supervisor unilaterally deciding not to enforce the terms of the contract. Every time he does that, the township loses money. It is not our problem that this corporation bought some equipment that doesn't work so well. In any business transaction, when you have a contract, you do not, in good faith, say, do whatever you want. Deliver the service at whatever time frame you want. The way that this is being handled is outrageous. We are losing money. Why are you board members letting the supervisor decide? Send Priority Waste a bill for all of the fines so far, and I guarantee you, you will get better service.
Is there anyone else present who would like to speak during public comment?
Renee Klubeck, Knight Road. This is in response to Sean's presentation, and I'm sorry he's not here. I hope someone will pass this along or he'll see it. Do the code enforcement complaints, are they seen by the board members? Can answer me at a later time, someone can tell me. So if we do a complaint to Sean regarding Priority Waste, anyone on this board, do you see those complaints? Thank you. Are you aware that the main problem with Priority Waste per their employees is there are not enough vehicles and not enough drivers? The 2 drivers that presented to our road on Saturday, July 6th, had never driven a trash truck before, just to let you know. Are you aware, as in my email, because I think this is really important in communication, and actually Trustee Reiser and I heard from several, but Trustee Reiser and I had a lengthy conversation, that they did not pick up initially on the last week of June on our road because they sent the trash truck to Superior Township. Hello, our contract obviously is at the bottom of the pile. I think that's important to keep in mind as you communicate, as you're talking about communication. The truck that picked up on Saturday, July 6th for trash, which was a day after a holiday delayed day, that vehicle was lucky to be on the road. There was no video, there will be no video, and the 2 gentlemen driving the truck barely could make it on our road. The last part is that I am actually not a customer of Priority Waste. I'm done with trash pickup through Scio. We make other arrangements. For 4 days, I had to look out my window at 6 bright green trash cans. Even though I'm not a customer and this doesn't affect me financially, it's a disappointment in the township and I hate to see it move forward this way. So if any of you are looking for any additional information, I'm very chatty, as you can guess, with the drivers. I talk to them, who's been there has been respectful, but there is a breakdown in that company between their employees, their vehicles, and what they're telling all of you. So if you want to hear what I'm hearing, feel free to reach out to me. I'll continue to keep the board appraised of what's going on our road, as I see it's happening everywhere. And I do appreciate the members that did reach out to me to talk about the issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Renee. anyone else present who would like to speak during public comment? Let's turn to those who are participating remotely.
If you'd like to make a public comment, please raise your Zoom hand. First up is Alice Sandy Reed. Alice Sandy.
Actually, it's David Reed.
It's okay, David Reed.
I'm using my wife's computer because she signed in before I got home. First of all, I want to wish Mark a speedy recovery. I personally have never been hit with an airbag, but I understand it's painful. But I hope Mark recovers quickly. And I appreciate Monica's concern about the anonymous contributions, and they're only anonymous on the GoFundMe page. When we file our financial reports, everything will be identified as per regulation. Monica, don't worry. I have everybody's name. Another thing, when Mark was speaking at the last meeting, Mark Brezzo was speaking at the last meeting about bringing forward the fire discussion to this meeting. He mentioned that he wanted to meet with the not the Scio, but the tax sanity people to get their approval. And I kind of bristled at that, because why should we allow 1 or 2 or 5 people to determine the fate of the township? I can see the board taking 3 representatives of the board, 3 representatives of the opposition, 3 representatives of the proponents of the millage, and 3 firemen to get together and talk about that. But to have a meeting, a private meeting with 2 or 3 of the anti-tax people, I think that's borders on criminal, quite frankly. So I hope you don't have that meeting, and I hope you have a combined meeting with all parties involved, especially the firefighters. We're talking about their lives here. We're talking about their future, and we're talking about Scio Township's future, because if we don't do something quickly, I'm afraid that we might start losing some of our guys. So, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Any other interested public, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Oh, yeah.
Moved by Carrie, support by
Riser.
Riser. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, we are adjourned at 9:09.
Great, thank you, everybody.
You can go home and drink.